If you passed the ship at sea, you probably wouldn't even notice it. And honestly, that's exactly what the Navy wants. It doesn't look aggressive. There are no missile launchers, no fighter jets parked on deck, no towering radar masts. From a distance, it blends in perfectly with the endless stream of cargo ships, tankers, and supply vessels that crisscross the oceans every day. But hidden beneath that ordinary civilian appearance is something very different. A floating military base. A mobile platform that can sail into position and turn the middle of the ocean into a strategic stronghold. It's called the Expeditionary Mobile Base, a ship designed not to intimidate, but to disappear. To operate in places where permanent military bases are impossible or politically inconvenient. And while these ships almost never make the news, they're already reshaping how the Navy projects power across the world. So grab a seat, because we're about to take a closer look at one of the quietest and most underestimated tools in the modern Navy arsenal. The first thing that strikes you about the Expeditionary Mobile Base is how little it strikes you at all. It doesn't have the aggressive, unmistakable lines of a destroyer. It doesn't carry rows of missile launchers like a guided missile cruiser. And you won't see fighter jets or attack helicopters lining its deck like you would on an aircraft carrier. Instead, from the outside, it looks, well, ordinary. The kind of ship you'd expect to see hauling cargo across the Atlantic or resupplying offshore oil platforms. It's plain, unremarkable, and to most people, completely forgettable. But that's not a design flaw. It's the whole point. This ship was never meant to grab attention. It was built to disappear into the background, to blend in with civilian traffic, to quietly position itself exactly where it's needed, often in places where establishing a permanent military presence would be impossible, expensive, or politically sensitive. Because make no mistake, despite its unthreatening exterior, this ship is no ordinary vessel. It's a mobile platform designed to support special operations, drone deployments, helicopter missions, and more. It doesn't look like a warship, but that's exactly what makes it so useful. The Expeditionary Mobile Base didn't just appear out of nowhere. It's the result of years of hard lessons, evolving military strategy, and one unavoidable fact. The world has changed, and so have the rules of projecting power at sea. In the past, it was simple. If you wanted to influence a region, you sent an aircraft carrier or a full naval battle group. Big, visible, powerful. But today, that kind of approach doesn't always work. Sometimes it sends the wrong political message, sometimes there simply isn't time or infrastructure to build a base. And sometimes, you need to be somewhere you're technically not supposed to be. The US Navy saw that problem coming. In conflict zones like the Middle East, in the vast contested waters of the Pacific, or near unstable coastlines where allies are scarce, they needed a different option. A base that doesn't sit on land, a platform that doesn't require permission to operate, a ship that can quietly sail into place, support operations, and vanish again. All without the logistics nightmare of building something permanent. And so, the concept of the Expeditionary Mobile Base was born. A floating support hub that's mobile, flexible, and, most importantly, easy to hide in plain sight. From a distance, the Expeditionary Mobile Base looks plain. But step on board, and the story changes completely. This isn't an empty cargo ship or a glorified barge. It's a carefully designed, fully equipped military platform, disguised as an ordinary vessel. The most noticeable feature is the massive flight deck, large enough to support helicopter operations, not just for transport, but for resupply, surveillance, even special forces missions. Helicopters can land, refuel, load up with personnel or equipment, and take off again, all without the ship ever needing to approach a port. Below that deck, the real versatility begins. There are hangars for drones, storage bays for boats, spare parts, and fuel. Mission planners have dedicated spaces to coordinate operations. There are workshops for repairs and living quarters designed to keep the crew operational for weeks, even months at sea. But what makes this ship different from a standard supply vessel is how adaptable it is. One deployment, it might carry humanitarian aid, food, water, medical supplies for disaster relief operations. The next, it's configured to support mine clearing teams, drones for reconnaissance, or even special forces units preparing for a quiet, unannounced mission. Everything about the ship is modular, flexible, and purpose-built for modern naval operations. It's not about overwhelming firepower. It's about being ready for whatever the mission demands, even if that mission never makes the news. The Expeditionary Mobile Base isn't designed to make headlines, and that's exactly what makes it so useful. These ships operate in some of the most tense, politically sensitive regions of the world. Quietly, efficiently, and often unnoticed. One of the earliest examples? Anti-piracy operations off the coast of Somalia. In a region plagued by piracy and instability, the Navy needed a way to support helicopters, drones, and boarding teams, far from land and without relying on local governments. The solution? A mobile base, positioned just offshore, ready to respond. In the Persian Gulf, one of the most strategically vital and heavily contested waterways on the planet, these ships have provided a critical presence. They support mine-clearing operations, surveillance flights, and special forces teams, all without needing access to foreign ports. And during large-scale military exercises, expeditionary mobile bases act as floating hubs, extending the reach of Navy operations deep into regions where traditional infrastructure doesn't exist. But perhaps the most important thing? Most of these missions you'll never hear about. Because the true value of these ships isn't in showing force. It's in quietly being exactly where they're needed, ready to launch operations, gather intelligence, and support the mission, all while blending in with civilian maritime traffic. It's modern naval strategy at its most subtle and most effective. The Expeditionary Mobile Base is a glimpse into where naval operations are headed. It's no longer just about fleets of destroyers or aircraft carriers making their presence known. It's about being flexible, mobile, and, when necessary, completely invisible. As global tensions rise in the Indo-Pacific, in the Middle East, and beyond, these ships give the Navy a powerful tool, one that doesn't rely on ports, runways, or permission from foreign governments. A floating base, ready to appear exactly where it's needed and disappear just as quickly. And this is just the beginning. More advanced versions are being developed. Bigger, more capable, with even greater flexibility for drones, autonomous systems, and new generation equipment. Critics argue these ships lack protection, that they depend too much on blending in to stay safe. But supporters, they'll tell you, that's the future of modern warfare. Subtle, quiet, unpredictable. And while most people will never notice when one of these ships sails into position, rest assured, someone always does.